My friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I have 5 super easy weeknight dinner ideas for you, and they are all on slider buns. I feel like slider recipes are just so perfect to keep in the arsenal for those busy nights when you don't want to think about dinner. So first up, we have some chicken parm sliders. Then I have a slider recipe one of you guys actually recommended was Big Mac Sloppy Joe sliders. We also made some Cuban sliders. I've never done that before, and we were really surprised with the results. We also made a really fun chili cheese dog slider, and then last but not least, we made some Bulgogi sliders. If you happen to be new here, hi, how are you? How's the family? Thank you so much for clicking on that thumbnail and giving me a chance. Over on this channel, I do a lot of videos like this where I share some meal inspiration, and I also do haul videos for places like Costco, Sam's Club, Trader Joe's. So if you end up enjoying the vibe while you're here, feel free to check out the rest of my channel and don't forget to subscribe. So first off, we're gonna dive into the recipes and hang around because we'll be sharing a taste test with our honest reviews of them. All right, friends, so first up, we have some chicken Parmesan sliders. All recipes will be in the description box, but I'll do a walkthrough on each as well. For these ones, I make my own little chicken parm patties. I figured this recipe out because I wanted to make some homemade chicken nuggets for my toddlers, and we all ended up loving them so much that I was like, I should make them into patties for sliders. The recipe for the patties themselves will be down below, and if you love chicken nuggets, I'm just saying, even if you didn't want to make a slider version of them, the chicken nugget recipe is great by itself. If you want to take a shortcut, you could just buy some store-bought chicken tenders and cut them in half, or even throw a couple nuggets on there, but I really think making these little patties are worth the extra step. I use my KitchenAid mixer to combine the patty ingredients because anytime I do it, I do a huge batch. I then dip them into some breadcrumbs and cook them on a baking sheet with a wire rack under them so the heat will fully circulate. You could also do it on just a silicone mat or parchment paper, but if you do that, you'll want to make sure to flip the patties halfway through if you go that route. Okay, and then I'm so sorry that the footage looks weird here. I lost all of the footage from my camera for the next steps, but I had some on my phone to use, but it was in a different direction. As always, I am the ultimate professional at this gig, obviously. Anyways, I sliced the slider rolls right down the middle and then placed the bottoms in a 9x13 baking dish. I took the time to cut the sliders up individually. That way, when I went to go serve it, it would be easier to pull off the individual sliders. I laid down some mozzarella cheese, topped with the patties once those were done, more cheese, and then put down the top hat. I cut the slider tops individually at this point as well. I then brushed some melted butter and garlic on top of the buns and sprinkled it with some pizza seasoning from Trader Joe's, but you can just use any Italian blend seasoning you love. I covered this up with foil and baked them in the oven until the cheese had melted and the tops were golden. I made a couple batches of these, and I just wanted to point out that one of the batches actually went to one of my friends that recently had a baby, and what I did was I kept the marinara sauce in little individual cups on the side. So if you have somebody in your life that is in need of a delicious and fun meal, especially when they have kids, this may be a good option to put in your arsenal because she reported back that the entire family, including her young toddlers, absolutely loved it. We didn't get to share a live taste test of this one, but at the end of this video, we're going to be ranking all 5 of the sliders, and spoiler alert, this was definitely in the running for number 1. Next up, I made some Big Mac Sloppy Joe sliders thanks to a suggestion from a viewer. These were actually really easy to throw together and a great way to use up some of the condiments staring at me from my fridge. Again, full recipes for these will be down below, but I sliced the sliders in half and got them in a baking dish. I then took some melted butter and added mustard and honey and set it aside. That'll be used in our last move. Then I moved on to browning up some beef with garlic and onion. I seasoned it with a passion with some of our favorite Kinder's Cowboy seasoning, but whatever favorite burger or steak seasoning you have is fine. I then mixed in, and this is a very important step, diced sweet petite pickles, Kinder's burger sauce, but Thousand Island would work too, and then a little bit of ketchup. I laid down some cheddar cheese on the bottom of the sliders, covered it with the Big Mac Sloppy Joe mixture, and then some more cheese. I placed the top of the buns back on, brushed it with that mustard mixture we made earlier, and then I sprinkled a little of the everything but the bagel seasoning on top. These bake for 5 to 10 minutes. You're just essentially trying to let that cheese melt down and let the buns get themselves a golden tan. I served it with a little extra burger sauce on the side. We got a taste test for these. Let's see how we rated them. Friends, good day. We have some Big Mac sliders. This was actually a suggestion from one of you guys, Big Mac Sloppy Joes. Yeah, this is all John's doing. So I'm gonna put the comment on the screen right here, thanking you for your contribution to John's deliciousness tonight. Go ahead, man.
Okay, man.
You do the honors.
I mean, we have two.
I know, but I was letting you go first. Isn't that what nice wives do? I don't know, because I'm not a nice wife. So usually I don't do stuff like that. I don't know, it felt right in the moment.
Oh, no.
It's definitely a sloppy Joe. John off camera said, that plate is, what did you say exactly?
I said that plate is getting destroyed.
That is so good. And it's just one of those like fun dinners. You know what I mean?
I know it's called Big Mac, but it tastes like it tastes real.
What do you mean?
Like McDonald's Big Mac is not real.
It's not real.
Right. It's like...
I see what you're saying. Like this is like a wholesome version of a Big Mac.
Like this is elevated Big Mac.
This, if you have kids that are like in the like 10 to 17 range, I bet they would love this.
What about 37?
If you have a 37-year-old kid who's about to be 38, just like me. Just saying.
Why you gotta do me like that?
Just saying. By the time this video goes live, actually, I think you will already have been 38. Because I don't know the way my schedule is. Anyways,
wow.
Back to these. That honey mustard butter that I put on top.
Fire.
So good. Don't skip that step. I know it seems like it's an extra step that you might not want to do. Don't skip it. The rest of this is very simple. It's pretty much just 2 dishes that you create because you've got the skillet and then you've got the baking dish that it goes in. That's pretty much it. I'm going 8.5.
I'm going 9.
He's going 9. What do you think could make it better?
Solid 9.
You know what would make it better for me is if I put a little bit of mayonnaise on it.
If they were patties instead of sloppy Joe.
I see. Okay. Like if they were like little mini.
Yeah.
Okay, I could see that. But I like the sloppy Joe aspect. I just think it's a lot of fun. But I agree. I think that I would probably like it better if it was slider-sized burgers on the buns.
Yeah.
What I love about this, though, is as you guys know, we have a sauce graveyard in the fridge, and we use the Kinder's dipping sauce burger version. But if you don't have that, just use whatever you have on hand. Like mix together some mayonnaise and mustard, honey mustard, French dressing. If you have Thousand Island would work perfectly fine. So just get creative, but that's the sauce that we used. However, we like that sauce quite a bit. So if you do see it at your grocery store and you want to make this recipe, it won't be wasted on you because it's really good if you do just make some burgers on the grill and toss it on there or dip your French fries in it. Anyways, that's the feedback. We're gonna get to corporate on this one and you guys are diving into the next recipe. Next up, we're making some Cuban style sliders. I started by making a Cuban style pork in my crock pot earlier in the day. I will link the video where we made this together. I truly think it's one of my favorite crock pot meals I've made this year, but you could also use a store-bought pulled pork or whatever your favorite recipe is. I got the tanning bed preheated to 350 degrees and then I sliced some Hawaiian rolls in half. The bottom half went into a 9x13 baking dish just like in the other recipes. I spread a thin layer of yellow mustard and mayonnaise over both the top and bottom of the buns. Then I added a generous layer of ham, followed by a layer of the shredded pork, some cheese slices. I ended up going with provolone, but I know a lot of people would prefer Swiss. And then I put some pickle slices evenly across the cheese and placed the top of the slider buns back. I then mixed melted butter, Dijon mustard, and seasoning and brushed that generously over the top of the rolls. I baked those for about 10 minutes until the cheese was melted through and everything had been heated together. Let's check in with past Kate and John to see what their thoughts were on these bad boys. Look at this. Take a look-see. Take a look-see. It's a Cuban style slider. I don't want to call it a Cuban slider because I probably messed up somewhere to make it a true Cuban, but it's a Cuban style.
Cuban style slider?
Yeah.
What makes it a true Cuban?
I don't know. I just said that, John. If I knew, I would have made it a real Cuban. First of all, I didn't do Swiss cheese. It's supposed to have Swiss cheese, and we knew I wasn't doing that.
We know she's just not doing Swiss cheese.
Yeah, I did provolone instead. Cheers. John's giving me the eyes from behind the camera. I asked her a paper towel because she messy, okay? But
listen, I don't know what a real Cuban is because I'm not sophisticated, but that, whatever that is amazing.
That is really good. The pork itself, I got to try the pork by itself, and the pork itself is phenomenal. But that whole sandwich, it's an experience.
That's one of my favorite sliders.
I feel like we just said that.
I stopped making great food.
What can I say? Like, I thought it was going to be super messy because the bottom of sliders, when you do stuff like this, it always gets, like, soggy. And it's definitely, like, on the soggier side. But it stood up to it.
Like the
I don't
pickle,
even know. The pickle.
The pickle was on point.
The mustard.
The mustard was on point.
And I don't even really love mustard.
The pork was on point.
Everything is on point. That is an experience. That I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to land that with you guys.
I'm just sad we only have 6.
Yeah, I know, because I'm trying to make multiple slider recipes. So we actually had 8.
Sorry, I'm sad we only have 8.
So I'm splitting the Costco and Sam's Club. They have like a pack of 16. This recipe will be for a normal size one, which I think is 12 rolls come in a normal like grocery store size. But I cut ours down to 8 because I'm trying to make like it all work, you know, but moving on. So there's nothing I would change about it, but I'm also going 9.5 because like, I don't feel like it's a 10, but I agree with John that that's one of my favorite sliders. However, the chicken parm sliders are so good.
Ooh.
So I don't know, they're just somewhere in there. So anyways, I'm giving it a 9.5, sir.
Ooh. You just reminded me of the chicken parm sliders.
I know, those are so good. And the Big Mac sliders are so good too. Like, sliders are just a vibe.
I like these better than the Big Mac slider.
Yeah, I think I do too.
And I love beef. What's wrong here?
What's going on?
Something's broken.
Something's broken. What are you giving them?
I'm going 9.
9.
Going solid 9.
Solid 9.
Solid.
I feel like every time you say an even number, you're always, or like not an even number, but not a 0.5, you're always like, but it's a solid 9. It didn't earn that extra half a point, but it's still solid, okay? Anyways, okay, so I think
Why are you gonna call me out?
I think that's all there is to say about that. This one was a little bit more involved because it's kind of like you make the pork and then you make the sliders, but putting the sliders together was super simple. So like the pork side, and if you wanted to, you could just buy some of that like shredded pork at like, what is that called? At Sam's Club or something, you know, like the pulled pork that you can just buy as is. I will say though, I think it's worth the effort to make the crock pot pork. And now we have a lot of leftover in the crock pot that we can put over rice. We can put it in tortilla. We can do quite a bit with it. Spanish rice.
Ooh.
Add some beans.
Ooh.
Make the dreams come true.
Stop it.
Stop it. You could even make an omelet with it.
You need to knock it off.
You can do whatever you want. But anyways, we're going to get this feedback over to corporate. And you guys are diving into, I think, maybe the final recipe? No, we got 2 more. So just kidding. You're diving into the next recipe. Next up, we have a really fun one, some chili cheese dog sliders. One of my Instagram friends actually sent me this idea as a reel, and I will link the original reel in the description box below. I did switch up a couple things that I think are worth swapping out, so let me show you what I did specifically. First, I got our favorite chili in the crock pot. Whenever I make my chili, I try to always double up and freeze a batch for myself for later, and that's what I had done, thankfully. So this was really easy because I was able to just grab that out of the freezer and get it in the crock pot earlier in the day. I'll link the video where I share that recipe down below. You can obviously just use your own chili recipe or even some canned chili for this to make it even easier. But I promise that chili recipe is worth your time. For the sliders themselves, what I did was cut a sausage-sized rectangle in a row of 3 of the sliders. And then I pushed down the bread, making it into like a little boat. This part may seem weird to some, but I swear it's so good and would recommend doing it. I spread a little cream cheese in the bottom of those kayaks. I then placed down a beef and cheddar smoked sausage instead of the hot dog like she had used in the original video. I definitely think it's worth going with sausage instead. It gave it an extra punch of flavor. I then scooped some of the slow cooker chili right over that sausage and topped it with some cheese. I personally love sliced jalapenos, but John doesn't, so I added the sliced jalapenos to my side. I didn't have any diced onions on hand. I probably would have done that, but basically any topping that you like on a loaded dog, you can feel free to add to this. Those got baked with some foil on them for about 25 to 30 minutes. Let's see how they measure up in our taste test. Friends, I already know this is gonna be a John approved meal, okay? I don't know if it's focusing. Get my face out of here. John, get your face out.
Get your face out.
I don't know if it's working. There we go. Look at that. Look at those beauties, okay? The worst filmer of all time.
Boom.
Don't drop it now.
Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot.
Oh, Lord. Anyways, we have chili cheese dog sliders. Somebody actually sent this to me on Instagram and was like, you should catify this. And so that's what I did. We used our lovely sweet chili, and I used sausage instead of hot dogs. I always gotta do something different. And then she put mustard down underneath the hot dog, but I went with cream cheese. I know people are gonna feel some type of way about it, but I put sliced jalapenos on mine. John does not like jalapenos, so he just got a good old chili cheese dog. There you go, sir. It's gonna be messy.
Who's excited?
It's not as soggy as I thought it would be. John's making some faces behind the camera. Sir, come make your faces over here so your friends can see. I should go get a GoPro for my head. Like live John cam. You know, what's he up to?
Listen.
Listen here.
You need to make the chili exactly the same. And then you need to go ahead and do this.
And you have to use the smoked sausage.
Gotta use smoked sausage.
Gotta use the smoked sausage.
And if you think the cream cheese is weird, think again.
Think again. And nothing got soggy. Like, it's definitely not, like, it's like almost like a sloppy joe where it's like messy, but it had a structure to it. I thought it was going to be super soggy, but no, this is a win. A very simple dinner. It was very easy to put together. And I don't really love chili. I don't know what it is about chili that I don't like. I'm really great at making it. I make it for John pretty often. I tolerate it. Though my favorite way to eat chili is just over rice with a lot of cheese on it. And I'll get through it, but it's just not, it's not in my favorite meals, you know? However, I still really enjoyed this. It's definitely not my favorite slider of what we've made so far. I can definitely understand the appeal. And I think that people who do love chili cheese dogs would love this. And I personally think making it with sausage is the route to go, because I think sausage gave it kind of like extra flavor. Oh, yeah. The hot dog would just kind of taste salty and not have flavor, whereas the sausage gave it flavor. I think the cream cheese was a great addition, just saying. So if you're cool with cream cheese, if you guys are friends, you hang out, I would add the cream cheese. The girl in the video that I'm gonna link from the Instagram, she put down mustard, so you could put whatever condiments you like. You could add diced onion, you could do the diced jalapeno, you could do banana peppers, you can do whatever you would like to load up on a chili cheese dog and make it your own. I'm going 7.5. You're going 10? You're going 10, bro?
Listen, sausage good. Chili, amazing. The bread,
it's there.
good.
The
cheese,
sweet bread, you can't go wrong.
Awesome.
Cheese,
cream
awesome.
cheese, bam.
Bam. All right, well, we're gonna get this feedback over to corporate, and you guys are diving into the next recipe. Last up, we have some Bulgogi style sliders. These are so simple because I just used some sliced steak, tossed it directly in the crock pot with some sauces, seasoning, sliced onions, and minced garlic. This crockpot meal is actually really good even on its own, so if you wanted to just make this and serve it over rice or with noodles. And just a reminder, all recipes will be down below. It's almost like an Asian style barbecue, sweet and delicious. The meat cooked low and slow all day, and when I was ready to serve the actual sliders, I just simply had to cut the slider buns in half, put the bulgogi down, put the tops on, and then I just brushed it with some butter and sprinkled everything but the bagel seasoning on it. They baked for about 10 minutes just until the tops were golden. We're going to share our thoughts on this one specifically and then do a full wrap up and rank all 5. Let's check in and see how that went. There he is, friends. Listen up. We got the final slider. It's the final slider. This
How long have you been holding on to that?
just came up with it just now. Live and in action. This is a Bulgogi slider. I want to take a moment to talk about Bulgogi real quick because there was a time that Costco sold a pre-marinated one that
it was raw.
It was raw. You just could slap it in the crock pot or cook it on the stove and all your dreams would come true. But those dreams were shredded shredded to pieces because Costco discontinued it. However, my best friend informed me tonight that the Hawaii Costco still sell it.
But we can't get it here?
But we can't get it here. I know the Virginia Costco's had it.
Yeah, I remember we bought
and then it got like pulled. And seriously, that was, we have now lived in Florida almost 2 years. So it had to have been at least 2 years. And every single time I go into Costco, I still check because I'm just holding out hope it'll be brought back. But apparently it's living its best life on a tropical island. So it's going to be okay. But anyways, I wanted to make it myself now because what else am I going to do? There, take one. If I had to make this again, I would double up the bulgogi recipe portion. I think even maybe what I would do is it was a pound of like shaved steak. I'd go a pound and a half, but leave the liquid part the same. I think I could go for a little bit more meat on the slider. But the flavor is really good. The tenderness of the meat is really good.
Super good.
But I could have used a little bit more. And I think in order to get a little bit more on there, we'd need to go like a pound and a half.
How much was the Costco? I feel like that was a lot of meat.
It was a lot. I don't even know, to be honest.
And we used to do like a whole tray of sliders.
Yeah, and then still have like leftover.
Yeah.
So we have some leftover bulgogi, but I didn't use a full 12 pack.
Yeah.
Like when you go to a grocery store, it's usually sold in a 12 pack. I only did 9 sliders. So that extra that I had, I was like, oh, I'll just put it on rice. But now that I had the sliders, I'm like, I think the sliders needed a little bit more meat. So that's my only like feedback on this is you may want to increase to a pound and a half. But I'll just leave that up to you. I'm going to leave the recipe as is. But if you want to add more meat, it's not going to hurt nobody. What are your thoughts?
The flavor is on point. That brought me right back to the one we
The
used
Costco
to,
one. Like, I think the sauce is perfect.
The sauce is
it's really funny because anytime I make kind of like an Asian-based sauce, I always want to go with the same things, which is shoyu, toasted sesame oil, some type of sweetener. It's usually like either brown sugar or honey. And then I always want to add rice vinegar. Like, it just feels like a part of me. But I held myself back this time.
Oh, there is no rice
There's
vinegar.
no rice vinegar in it.
Wow.
So it's just shoyu, brown sugar, and toasted sesame oil. I'm glad that I didn't do the vinegar because it makes this different from other recipes we're normally having with like the Asian flavors, you know?
Yes, agreed.
So
agreed.
I think this was a win. It's definitely not my favorite of the bunch.
Yeah.
But I also think that it's different. If you're trying to mix up your menu, this is a great one to go with. So now that we've done all of the sliders, we're going to rank them. So as a reminder, the sliders that we had Chicken Parm Sliders. We had Big Mac Sliders. We had the Cuban Sliders. We had the Chili Cheese Dog Sliders. And then we had these Bulgogi Sliders.
Chili cheese for me, number one.
Number one.
And also number one in messy.
It was on the messier side, but not soggy messy.
No.
Which I was pleasantly surprised by. Number one for me, I think I'm gonna go with the Chicken Parm Sliders. I think those are my top favorite.
Okay. Cuban's my
Wait,
number two.
no, maybe the Cuban's my number one.
Cuban's my number 2.
Okay, I'm switching it up. I'm going Cuban was number one, Chicken Parm Sliders number 2.
Chicken Parm Sliders number 3 for me.
Okay. Number 3 for me is gonna be the Big Mac. And then number 4 for me is gonna be the Chili Cheese Dog Sliders, I think.
Wow.
No, I think I'd go Bulgogi as my number 4.
Chili cheese dog sliders are bottom?
Yeah. It's just, I don't love chili. So it's
Yeah,
like, you know what I
true.
mean? It's just, if I think about if I had all 5 in front of me, the order that I would request them.
Okay.
Although it was delicious, it really was. None of them are under a 7 score. You know what I mean? Like they're all solid.
Mine would be Bulgogi and then the Mac.
The Big Mac one?
Big Mac is...
Kind of surprised by that.
That Cuban, I'm still thinking about it.
That Cuban is so good.
And you know, I'm giving the chicken parm an elevated level. I feel like the other ones are more interesting, but I love chicken parm.
Yeah.
And that's just like a good like...
You can turn to it.
Yeah, like you can't go wrong with it.
But the thing is it's funny because it's like such a basic one, but it's also one I don't see a lot of people make. Because I see slider recipes all the time, and it's usually like the same few slider recipes being rotated. And I don't think I've seen that much. Yeah. Or if people have done it, I think people do it with like chicken tenders. I love doing it with those little homemade patties.
Those homemade patties, those chicken homemade patties,
they're so
amazing.
Good. They're so good. We actually just made it the other day using ground turkey. Because Sam's Club was out of ground chicken, so we used ground turkey and it worked out fine. I definitely prefer the ground chicken because it's got more of like a softness to it, if you will. The turkey gets a little tougher, but overall, so good. So anyways, that is the wrap up on all 5 of these slider recipes. I think these are perfect this time of year because we're all just so busy. You know, I know a lot of people have kids in sports and stuff like that, and sometimes you just need to have something easy to turn to.
And cleanup was fairly easy too.
Yeah, because it's basically just the crock pot and then the baking dish. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you out. I hope we delivered whatever you needed when you clicked on that thumbnail. We're gonna get that feedback to corporate. I almost forgot to say that.
Oh.
We're gonna get this feedback to corporate, don't you worry. They've been waiting on this one, you know. They've been wondering when that feedback was gonna come in. My deadline was approaching. I don't wanna get written up. Anyways, we hope you have a magical day. Bye.